dreamed of more. And this was one of the most important lessons I ever had that has stuck with me for 20 years.
What do you think are the biggest challenges in the industry today?
I saw a text from one of my leaders. It was April 11th, and she said, "Is this for real?" I knew within a second, it's all over, that I lost it all. Not just the check. I lost the entire team.
Anna, what are we going to do? Where are we going to sign up? Where are we going?
Hey, if I lost it overnight, I would build it again from the ground up, one person at a time.
So you're taking your time to make sure that your next move is the right move, which is very smart.
Yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind that you're going to go to the top. Okay? I can see it. I can see it on your eyes. You're very determined. That's why you're very, very successful, very powerful.
Hello everyone, this is Edgardo Valdivieso here from my house in Las Vegas.
Welcome to one more show of Edgardo Valdivieso Show. And today, our guest is one of the most powerful female leaders in the entire network marketing industry. She's here to open up like never before. Her journey, her success, her struggles. Wow. Anna Woodward, it's an honor to have you on my show. Anna, welcome to the show.
Edgardo, thank you so much. This is truly an honor. I've been looking forward to this for the last couple of weeks since you messaged me. So thank you. You are a force and supremely talented. And I love what you're doing here with this program. So thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you for being here on the show. And your story is amazing. I can't wait, for this episode to come next week or in 2 weeks. And I know people is going to be like, when Anna Woodward show is going to come out on the channel. So let's get to know you a little bit more, Anna.
Sure. Let's do that. Where should we begin?
Tell us about you.
Okay. That's always a difficult prompt, but I've been thinking it's been quite a season, 2025. Lots of things have happened that were not on my bingo card, let's be honest. If I were to start about me is I've had a life before network marketing, but it's been a good 20-year run. I've had pretty much everything that you could have happen to you happened to me in network marketing, and we'll dive into that a little bit, I'm sure. But before that, my life was a classical musician. So I don't get to tell this part very often. And I'm really, really proud of, how I pivoted and kind of how I found this wonderful symbiotic nature between being a classical musician and a performer and being a network marketing leader, trainer, coach, mentor, and so forth. So I'm from the Northwest, grew up in Seattle, Washington, and started playing the flute at about 10 years old. So I think you're going to dive into my childhood in a minute, but I was in that wonderful generation. I'm sure I'm older than you, but I grew up with TV shows like Fame, Wonder Woman, and, The Bionic Man or something like that, The $6 Million Man. Anyway, I was drawn to these shows, which just showed the power of potential, the human potential. And I think I watched every episode of Fame over and over again. And Debbie Allen, banging her stick on the dance floor. And that was a real moment because I dreamed of more. Like even at 8 years old, I dreamed of what it would be like to be in that kind of a world. And then I started playing the flute at about 10 years old. About 12 years old, I had a music teacher tap me on the shoulder after class and say, "You've got talent. See me after class." And I was terrified because no one ever said that to me before. No one's ever said that. I was pretty shy. I wasn't the cheerleader. I wasn't the dancer. I was pretty shy and introverted. But that tap on the shoulder changed my life. And I prayed. Do you have kids, Edgardo? Do you have children?
I do.
Okay. I pray for your children, and just like I did for my children, that at some point in their life, in those development years, somebody taps them on the shoulder and says, "You've got talent, you've got skills, you've got what it takes, you've got that it." Because your parents can do it, but those are your parents. When someone else, a coach, a mentor, a teacher, sees you, it's life-changing. And that's what happened to me about 12 years old, I would say.
Wow. Was that your dream growing up?
Music was definitely where I found I had a little bit of skill. And then when I kind of got that nudge, that teacher became my mentor, and in good ways. And also, I mean, he was a little unorthodox. He was very, let's just say, psychologically a little bit controlling. And there's a movie out there. It's called Black Swan. It's about the arts. It's about classical. I think it's dance. And I'm telling you, I've lived some of that. It's a real mind game. But he helped transfer belief to me at that young age, that if I could achieve more, if I had the God-given talent, how dare I not pursue it? That was literally what that 12-year-old started to hear at 12, 13, and 14. And that started me on a path to look for more. I changed high schools. I would change professors. I changed colleges. I left children that I went to school with since I was 5 and 6 to pursue a musical high school, kind of like the fame, looking for that fame, that television, that incredible nature and excitement of the arts and creativity. And then from there, I changed universities. My dream was to go to a conservatory. So I did attend the New England Conservatory, started a master's degree with the Boston Symphony flutist. From there, I got on a plane by myself without a cell phone, auditioned for the Royal College of Music in London, which is one of the premier conservatories in Europe, was accepted, then came home. A year later, got on the plane, flew over to London, didn't know a soul. I didn't know a single person. And I started live and pursuing, classical music at that very, very high level at that conservatory. So did a master's in music, finished up there in 95. Again, always looking for more, did competitions, spent a summer in Japan, played in an orchestra with some of the most amazing musicians in Europe, from the Vienna Philharmonic, London Philharmonic, Eschenbach conducting. Like, I put myself in pressure cooking situations at a very young age, and I just did it over and over and over again. So that, I think, somehow prepared me for the hard knocks of network marketing.
Oh, wow. So tell us that story, how you got involved in network marketing.
Okay. So that was my before family and children life.
Okay.
Once
How
I got
many
married,
kids do you have, by the way?
Okay. We have 3 amazing children. My husband, Steve, and I have 3 amazing kids. They've taken notes these last 20 years. They know every day and every way I choose to get better and better and better. They know they've heard everything. So it's wonderful. They're 25, 23, and 22.
Oh, wow.
And they're amazing. They found what their heart's calling them to. And I'm so grateful that this was a part of my life to teach them so they could see you have to go create the life you want. Don't just settle for whatever job you might walk into. Think about, what do you want to, time is so brief on earth. Like, we don't know how much time we have. So to find a meaningful calling at their age, I'm so overjoyed. So overjoyed.
Wow. Wow. So tell us the story, how you got involved in network marketing. All
right. So I put my music background away. I kind of put the career away because I had 3 children under the age of 5. Okay. And I was teaching at a university for a year. As soon as I started that job, I said, I don't want to do this. I want to be home with my own kids. So one day I was at my children's school, doing lots of preschool pickup, back and forth. It was a book fair. And so I was buying books. You have little kids. How old are your kids, Edgardo?
35, 33,
Gosh,
31, okay. 24.
Okay, so you're not doing book fairs anymore, but we would go to book fairs. There was a lady selling books, and she was following me around the book fair. And I thought, did she think I'm going to run off with these books? So anyway, I had to go. My husband was in the car. I said, here's my phone number. I want this stack of books. It was a nice, can you call me tomorrow? Well, little did I know she was going to call me for weeks. And what I knew about her was it wasn't about the books. She had some skincare things she wanted to share with me. And literally, here's what I can tell you. She had a great attitude. She was fun. She was always like, yeah, I'd love to take you to coffee. I just want to show you something special. And, we can just have coffee at Starbucks. So finally, the 7th time, I thought, if she's not going to stop calling me. She is not going to stop calling me. So I said, okay.
Oh, wow.
I will meet you for Starbucks, but I got a half hour on this day for pickup, but I'm not going to do a business, but I might be a good customer if you have something I like, because I do like to shop. So that's how it started. Now, the thing is, and this was one of the most important lessons I ever had that has stuck with me for 20 years. I sat down that day in Starbucks. I was in jeans. I mean, I probably had a pimple on my nose. My 2-year-old baby was on my lap. I was like, exhausted mom. And I thought, here she goes. She's going to pitch a business. She didn't talk about a business. I thought, where's the product? She's going to start getting the products out. She didn't talk about products. She got to know me. And she found the dance right away. It was like music. She wanted about my children, the ages, what my husband did for a living. Do we like to travel? And as soon as I shared a little bit, she would take it and she would weave. And she would talk to me about how her children went to this special school in Bellevue, and she was able to afford that as a single mom, and then went to Disney World. And she said, have you been taking the kids to Disney World? And I said, not yet, because they're little. And in my mind, I'm thinking, you know how expensive it is to take these 3 to Disney World? Because we want the big hotel. We want the expensive, the whole package, the VIP passes. And so I'm listening to her going, you took your kids to Disney World? Like, you're a single mom what business is she even doing? Anyway, the whole half hour, she just cast vision for me. By the time that coffee was done and I had to go pick up my kids, I actually thought, I think I need to take a look at this. But I didn't even know what the business plan was. She taught me a little bit about leverage. She talked about the dream. She was masterful. And I will tell you that changed my life. And every time I sit with somebody, I don't try to jump into a business plan. I don't try to jump into a comp plan. I want to know them. I want to know what their dreams are. And if I can find a way to segue and we can dance and I can share, I believe I have something, they're already on the edge of their seat. But we still have to do the dance. But she taught me something that day that I'll never forget. It's about the dream. And it's about, do you and I connect? Do we have something in common? Will we be able to dance together and spend time together? It's really not about a product or a comp plan. So that was my beginning. And I said to her, I went home. I got to tell you this next bit. I went home and I said to my husband, this is crazy because I don't know if I should do this. But it was about 2004-ish. Okay.
What company was that?
This is Arbonne. It was Arbonne. So it was about 2004, and I remember 2001 happened, which we all know the market tanked,
Yes.
And I'll be honest, at that point, we had a little shock factor in 2001. My husband was in tech. We had a big mortgage. We had nice car loans and beautiful German cars in the driveway. We had private school. We had a high lifestyle, and that was our first scare of, market volatility and so forth. So I remember saying to my husband, the thing is, no one else is knocking on my door or calling me 7 times in 2 months, whatever, to try to show me a better way to take care of our family and to add value. No one else is knocking on my door. And I can't help but think I'm kind of supposed to pay attention to this. And my husband was great. He's like, if you want to do it, it's up to you. But he said, I will tell you this. His mom, Steve was born in England and was raised in England and just came over to the States about 30 years ago. But he said his mom was one of the first Tupperware ladies in England. And her direct sales income always helped segue the income gaps because both his parents were self-employed. So he had this great, if you want to do it and you have fun with it, just give it a try. And I thought, I think I'm going to. And that's how I got started. But I told her this when I got started. I said, I'm not going to say her name. I said, here's the deal. I don't want to do a party. I'm not going to a meeting. I'm not going to sell this to my neighbors. Is there anything else? Yeah, I'm not sure what else, but do you think I can still make some money? And you know what she said? We're going to work on it. It'll be just fine. And so that's how I started. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. And I'm sure she called her sponsor and said, I've got a hot one. I've got an ace here with Anna. No, she probably went, what am I going to do with this lady? So that's my start.
Oh, wow. So you say, I'm not going to share this with my neighbors, not with my family. I mean, I'm just going to introduce it to strangers.
Well, actually, I did. That was one of the approaches I did take. I did cold market from the beginning. She taught me a lot about cold market. And that for me at the time felt safer. I mean, my mom, I had some people who bought products, but as far as learning how to enroll a consultant, a first brand partner, first new consultant. It took me 6 months. It took me 6 months, but I did it. I did it.
What? It took you 6 months to enroll your first
Yes.
distributor?
Yeah. My first distributor took me 6 months.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. So you did not talk to your neighbors. You did not talk to your family.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, you have to know, you have to have confidence, right? I didn't have confidence in the business model because I didn't understand it. The person who enrolled me was rather gregarious, and she would always talk about, I think $20,000 a month, a little extra $20,000 a month would just make our lives honky dory. And I was thinking, nobody talks like that, like just 20,000 a month. But she said it so many times that I started to believe maybe that's possible. Maybe that's possible. I mean, I don't know. I'm new here, but maybe it's possible. I went to my first event in Vegas. Now, I didn't. So if anyone's new and they're listening, go to the event. The very first opportunity you have, get to your event. Because
Where was that event? On the convention center?
The MGM Grand in Vegas.
Okay.
I think they probably still go there today. And I didn't go to the very first one. I missed a huge opportunity. I went to the next one, and that changed my life. Because now I saw the whole big picture, and I felt and I saw. And actually, my mother came to that event with me. Funny enough, my husband stayed home with the kids. They were pretty little. And Rita Davenport hit the stage, and I was in the very back of the auditorium with my group, because we sat usually in your groups, right? And I was on the edge of my seat. I had never experienced a Rita before. And I got to the edge of my seat. We were crying. I looked at my mom when she was finished, and I said, she still remembers to this day. I said, did you see that? That's what I want to do with my life. That's what I want to do with my life. She changed the whole paradigm for me. I came home from the event, and I went regional vice president, car qualified Mercedes in 6 months. Everything, because I saw it. I got it.
So, Anna, what do you think are the biggest challenges in the industry today?
That's a really big question, and it's so important. I've had an experience in 20 years to see 3 unique business models. Okay, we had the traditional direct selling party plan type, a direct selling company. Then I went into network marketing, relationship marketing, as I like to say, and I learned the strengths of that model. And then I moved to something called social retail. And I watched this evolution of everything online, everything leveraging social media, and then really the expansion of selling, personal selling, to the degree that you probably wouldn't believe what I saw. Because I mean, I don't even want to share it, because it's going to make the average person feel very inadequate, because it had gone, the social selling has become such a phenomenon that it just changed the culture of the company. So I think right there, that's a huge challenge today, because you can't serve 2 masters, right? You have to know, or if you do, you have to be really delicate at how you approach that. I think there is a home for everybody, but when it comes to influencers and social sellers and affiliates, like, they can have a home in a company, sure. But I think it's very dangerous for companies to change their business plan to accommodate them because they think it's a smart idea. They do that at the risk of the traditional builder, the legacy leaders who have built for 10, 15, 20 years. So there's this dance of ideology of this is the future. And I don't think it's the future. I think it's a very dangerous idea that we're going to have people learn to sell 10,000 a month, 15,000 a month, 30, 50, 100. I've seen people sell $400,000 a month in personal sales.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's kind of mind blowing. So,
wow.
So I think that's one of the things that's challenging, is where is that balance, right? Where is that balance? And how can we be disruptive? How can we be progressive? I mean, this is 2025. I mean, got all the different social media sites and ways we can access people all around the world for our business. How do we do that? And then maintain a culture where people land and know they're safe and they have a home for decades. It's a very tricky balance right now.
So, Anna, did you experience this in Modere?
Yes, I did. For the last 8.5 years, I was with Modere, and I was part of, seeing this evolution. They were very proud of being disruptive. There's nothing wrong with being disruptive, right? Being the Netflix to the Blockbusters, being the Uber to the taxi. There's nothing wrong with that, unless you don't understand that you're disrupting yourself out of your business model. That was what I experienced from my vantage point. I thought they don't fundamentally understand that we're in a business where your sales revenue, your volume, your revenue, overall sales revenue is a lagging indicator. Okay. Your number of storefronts, distributors, new distributors starting is a leading indicator. When the ideology of the company, and no one ever said this, but how they enforced the compensation plan, where they put the drivers, it was definitely, the attention was to more and more personal sales. That came at a cost, because eventually compensation started to contract, because there's only 100 pennies per dollar, Edgardo, right? You're really successful in this business. It's only 100 cents per dollar. If you're paying distributors who can do 50,000, 80,000, 120, 400,000 a month in sales, 36%, you got to take it out of somewhere. So different things over the last 5 years started to happen in the compensation plan. And I saw it a mile away. By the time, the last 2 or 3 years, especially the last 2 years, because we've had lots of breakage, right? We had a lot of breakage. I'm not going to mention any names, but different massive leaders of influence leave. It was almost impossible to recruit anybody, to enroll somebody, because there was no incentive. There was no money in the plan. There was no upfront fast start. It was just you can come on and you can sell here and make good money and never have to recruit. And that became the mantra. Now, that's okay, because for a while it was true, until that started kind of getting compressed a little bit, because again, they have to move the money around to handle all these different types of builders. So that was true for a while, but eventually, when you're contracting, which a lot of companies, let's be honest, it's not just a Modere thing, a lot of companies in the industry post-COVID, when we blew up, right? We had insane growth, right? Then the contraction began. So we had the tailwinds of COVID, explosive growth. People thought they were so good and talented. No, you had tailwinds from a captive audience at home and people, wanting their products delivered and making money. Then it contracted and we had headwinds. They didn't contract fast enough. They didn't cut the fat fast enough. They didn't pivot fast enough. And basically recruiting, enrolling new storefronts, new partners. I like to use different words because I think people resonate differently. I like to say online storefronts, right? Eventually, the numbers got so thin on new starts that you only have the lagging indicator of volume at your disposal. And when you look around and say, okay, well, in this environment, shopping malls are closing. Joann's Fabrics are, Macy's is closing. Like all these retail stores are closing. How are we going to get the recruiting going? There was no money to bring to the table for that. We had already trained everybody to be sellers. And now, not everybody. There's some groups that could still really recruit, but not enough to change the course of the company. And I do believe that had to play a factor in whoever pulled the plug, was the scalability. We were doing this, same size force, going up and down based on how many promos, right? How many discounts were offered that month? How many BOGOs? So you're mimicking a shopping experience at Target or something. If it's a great day for a sale, you could have more sales, but as soon as that stopped, it'd go back down. And there was a lot of little flags like that basically they forgot who we are. We are a distributor model. You have to have storefronts, right? Look at Starbucks. They went from 40,000 to like 400,000 stores selling coffee. We needed to get to the 400,000, and they stopped saying, how much coffee can this one store sell? And that was the limiting belief, that they didn't understand those two things. Volume is lagging indicator. how many storefronts you're opening on a monthly basis as a company or a team leader, that's a leading indicator of your next 90 days. If you're not growing storefronts, new ones opening, you're going to have sales volume start to do this. But I wasn't in the C-suite. So no one asked me, but
I mean, so they were paying 36% for personal sales.
The highest amount was 36% of what we call CV, not retail price, CV. So it's about 80 cents on the dollar.
So that pretty much lowered a lot of the bonuses and commissions for the field.
Oh yeah,
to build the team.
I will say 100%. There were conversations. Look, it's just, we were in meetings. I was in meetings where and my colleagues were, where we had as leaders to accept what they called factoring. Excuse me, that's the word, factoring. Any comp plan gurus will understand factoring. And it was factoring to reduce the unilevel payout at a higher rate if that leader had big sellers in their group. And this was a very controversial subject. Clearly, it was very controversial, but it was for the health of the company, right? No one wanted to see these big sellers leave, the influencers, and we called them black platinums. There was a threshold of 15,000 in personal sales, 30,000 in personal sales, and then Black Platinum 3 was 50,000 in personal sales. But I had people go to 400,000 in personal sales. So if you had those higher numbers in your group, you were sacrificing some of the back end so they could get paid. That was probably a couple years ago that started. And there was other stuff. I applaud what they were trying to do. I really understand what they were trying to do. I just don't think the math was there. And then you couldn't, once you pivot a company into a certain degree and their comp plan gets, moved and adjusted, you just can't go back. You can't go back. It's almost like you have to start over.
So tell me, when you heard that they shut down overnight, what was your reaction? What were you doing?
It was Friday about 1:30. I just walked in the kitchen where I'm sitting right now and had my hair done. And I saw a text from one of my leaders, and it was, I think, April 11th. And she said, "Is this for real?" And it was gut punch, just absolutely gut to the punch. I knew within a second, it's all over. And that's why I said to my husband, "It's over. It's all over."
Oh, wow.
It's done. It was a very violent couple days. It's the best way I can describe it, is very violent to have well, we could talk about this. Were there red flags? There's been red flags for 3 or 4 or 5 years. But we were always told the ship was righted. And there was lots of evidence. We had a new COO. We had new hires. We just announced internally, Mexico pre-launch June 1st, Dubai, September 1st, new products. We just had a great conference.
So what happened then? If they had all these plans, how can you shut down overnight? When I saw this, Anna, I couldn't believe it. I thought it was a joke.
Yeah, no, here's the sad thing, Edgardo. I knew it wasn't a joke because I felt 5 years ago this was only an until company. It wasn't going to be forever. And that I couldn't say that inside. I could share it with my upline, and he'd say, "Why do you say that?" Because I'm looking at where they're putting their emphasis. They're not putting their emphasis on us. They're putting it on the fastest horse on the track, always in the front door. They want faster, higher, louder. They're not looking at our legacy business and listening to us. There are red flags here. And so, human nature, you want to believe the best, right? We all had, massive careers. This was supposed to be our pension. This was supposed to be our legacy. This was supposed to be, I was planning for grandchildren, college funds and medical funds if needed. I had dreams, and gone like that. Just poof, gone.
And we're going to talk more about this. So this happened April 11, 1:30 p.m. So what happened next? Leaders start calling you. They start looking for other opportunities.
You can't text fast enough. You can't answer fast enough. You can't call back fast enough. It was
what they're calling, Anna, what are we going to do? Where are we going to sign up? Where are we going?
Yeah. Yeah. It was chaos unleashed. You get on a call, you get a message, call them back, they're on a call. It was chaos. And then, to be honest, and because I hope no one ever has to face this. I've been in the industry 20 years. I've always known it's possible. I've heard stories of people's.
How many different companies you be involved with?
3
companies. Okay.
Yeah. So I've always heard that this is possible, but I've never gotten the call. No, I've gotten the call. So now I think I have experienced everything, but I don't want anyone to ever have to feel this way. It was, happens in corporate America. Like, this felt like an Enron. This felt like an Enron implosion. Like, lives have been affected. And then because of the nature, because the nature of this business, right? Within an hour, leaders were trying to recruit other leaders' teams in the company on social media.
Wow. I mean, yeah, I just
inaccurate information with not necessarily accurate information. I'm just going to put it that way. So it became a very fast spin and fast burn because you panicked because you could see a big leader using information, which I think he made it up. He had to clearly make it up to entice your team into his group to follow him. And you're like, what is happening? I mean, this is like the Twilight Zone. Like we just learned less than an hour ago how.
I mean, I just don't understand that. I don't get it. Why not just be calm, okay? Pull the team together, make a decision as a team, not just say, you know what, let's go here. Yeah. Whoever get there first, then is next. No, I mean, I just don't believe on that. Okay.
Well, and Edgardo, it's far more tragic because, and I understand it. Like, when this happened, the first 48 hours was chaos. And I tried to stay with my team. It blew up and went basically 2 different directions. I didn't end up going in those directions. That's another conversation, but I tried until I couldn't. And the reality is, by Sunday morning for me, I wasn't sleeping, but I finally got quiet on Sunday morning. It was Palm Sunday. And I woke up at 4:30. I came downstairs, and the first time the phone wasn't blowing up, I wasn't in messengers. I was just listening. And the first thing I heard was, you can call it quits. You can hang it up. It's been 20 years. It's been a great run. You can be done. And I had to sit with that for a little bit. That was big because I'm trying, we're leaders. We're trying to help people and keep the flock together and, ease panic and chaos. But that's when I first heard that I could walk away. And then I sat with that and I thought, but will you? I mean, for good, will you? And that's another conversation when we talk about, next. But I got a real short list of, if I move forward, what it's going to look like. But that was when, again, that's when I knew I had probably to walk away from my team because I wasn't going to go in the direction that they were going. And that was tough. That took a week, a solid week to sit with and be okay with it. Because when I was in Arbonne, I used to hear the greats of that company is such a majestic, has a great history, and they've had their share of trouble. And they've overcome it and they've come through it. But I used to hear the big leaders, Cecilia, Donna, Linda, all say, if I lost it overnight, I would build it again from the ground up, one person at a time. And 7 days later, it was Easter Sunday. I also want to share with you. So this was a Friday. Sunday, I realized I could just stop and retire. I mean, it's been a great 20 years. Someone very close to our family died that morning on Sunday. My best friend from childhood died on Wednesday.
Wow.
Then it's Easter week. I'm in church. I'm a mess. I mean, I'm in so much grief. I'm like, what has just happened to my life? Like, how do you look at all these things that just happen at the same time and make sense? But by Sunday, I knew I was going to go at it alone, that I lost it all. Not just the check. I lost the entire team. That was an Easter Sunday awareness. And by Monday, well, I blessed and told my team, I just can't go the direction they're going for personal reasons. But, I hope that they have fond memories and that we made a difference together while we could. So it's been a tough 6 weeks to say the least. But everything's good. God is good. He's so gracious, and I'm so full of gratitude. But it's been a steep learning curve real fast.
It's been over a month already.
Yeah.
Been over a month since April 11th. So tell us, what do you like and dislike about the industry?
Okay. Well, you have to like an awful lot if you make a 20-year career out of it. And I think, again, because of my background, what I loved about this industry, it gave me an opportunity to use my skills. It gave me an opportunity to be an effective communicator, to share a bigger vision for people, to be like that teacher was to me years ago, to be the person who could see a woman in a room or on a Zoom and know this woman has such a sparkle and she just has the it factor. She's talented, and be able to convey that. And maybe she's never heard that before. And I think my joy is being a breakthrough person. I love to help people have breakthroughs, and you can have little breakthroughs that lead to little bigger breakthroughs. And eventually, you have massive organizations around the world. But so I love that part. I can use my skills. My skills apply well here. The other thing I love is I just think it's a better way. I think being an entrepreneur is a better way. And most of all of us, I mean, like in the world, particularly North America, we don't grow up understanding this concept of scale and leverage. Now, few people do, obviously. There's people who come from entrepreneurs and business owners as parents and different things, but most people think linear income because they've been taught that, right? And so the scalability to show people real true freedom, I love that. It takes work. It could take you 10 to 15 years to really get the big dream. But you know what? People are willing to work 40 years or more, 40 hours a week to retire, on $4,000 a month or whatever. And it's like, we could take a great company and a great timing and a great system and a great leader and a great owner, all those things, great product, and we can compress in, let's say, 2 to 3 years to get you to a point, if you really have laser focus, to compress time and create a network of consumers and other storefronts to get you another pension-like income. I like to use kind of words like this because I'm licensed in wealth strategies and retirement planning. I didn't tell you that earlier. But I think about this. People don't have pensions. That's another thing. Like, we lost not just our income, that was like our pension. Like, we got to go build it again. I mean, that's crazy. But for the average person out there, what we could show them, if they're open and they feel at ease with you, that you're in teacher mode, you're not in sales mode, you're not in close mode, you're here to take someone who doesn't know to know a little bit more, just starting to understand, just starting to see and feel and have that desire. So I love all of that. Now, what I don't like about network marketing is I keep on hearing colleagues and friends talk about the Wild West right now. It's like the Wild, Wild West. And I think that in an ideal world, we would be working together as an industry to try to open up the front door to the 95% of people out there in the world who've never stepped foot in this industry. And instead, it becomes we're self-consuming each other, trying to absorb people's teams and broken dreams and broken companies and, disillusioned leaders and try to pull them. We're just doing I don't know. I feel like we're in this pattern, and what we should be doing is trying to attract everyday people out there who really want a better way. And we're not attracting them. I think in a lot of ways we're turning them off.
Okay. And what do you think what's going on with the FTC investigating different companies?
So I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon. But I mean, I'm not an expert. I have no expert knowledge other than it's scary as a distributor if you know your company is being investigated. And I absolutely, that is a deal breaker for me moving forward. If I know, and we talked about this, there's letters that have gone out to many, many companies. I think the in 2021, there was a published list of every company that has beginning letters. I think it's dangerous. If I'm looking for my next home and it's a forever home, that's got to be top of the list. And I'll tell you what I would say to anyone seriously looking. Don't talk to the CEO or the president. You get on a call or a Zoom with the owner and you ask that owner, would you put in writing for me right now that you are not being investigated or your company is not being investigated by the FTC? I'd actually ask that. I'd ask that because I've had owners just not disclose this. And then I found out during that crazy 48-hour shuffle, pick up the phone and had it confirmed by a president. And I said, that's all I need to hear. Bye-bye. Because I'm not taking people into that situation. That's like with what's been happening with these companies. It's like, so I'm just supposed to trust it's going to work out fine. And I'm going to lead innocent people into a situation, whether it's 8 months or 18 months or 8 years, could go right off the cliff when the investigation's already kind of right on their doorstep. No way. Deal breaker. Total deal breaker.
So, Anna, based on your experience, how do you select a solid network marketing company?
Well, clearly, I didn't last time. But you know what? I love what John C. Maxwell says. Sometimes you win and sometimes you learn. And I have learned a lot. My first expectation is the FTC is not investigating them. There's no formal CID. There's no investigation. There's no lawsuit. And that's a very short list of companies that can actually say that right now. Very short list.
Okay. So FTC, no lawsuits?
No FTC, truth in advertising, TIA, none of that stuff. And again, that is a very, very short list. So that narrowed it really down. The second thing is I would say 100%, I would never go with private equity ever again. And here's the thing, you're asking me really great questions, Edgardo, but the new person who doesn't have any experience, they're not going to know to ask these questions. I mean, so they're just going to get brought in by a friend or because the product looked great, but 100% like know your owner. And I would say it would have to be an owner that 100% is owner of the company, deep pockets, but has shown on record by behavior and decades that his fight is to stay in it not only for legacy, but for the distributor. Because this was my big fear of the last 8 years. I kept on watching them take away what like we've always cherished about, building large organizations and being those legacy leaders. They were taking more and more away. And I thought, this is not good. And there's no events. So, during COVID, and then events became, no one goes to events. And so I thought, what are they paying us for? Like literally we're being replaced. It's almost like part of that 2030 AI thing. And I didn't feel good about it for a long time. But again, it was a private equity that owned Modere. It wasn't someone who had 30, 40, 50 years in the industry and the family owned the company outright and they were financially debt free. That has already proven we're in it. We're in it for the next, couple generations. So I would look for that. Absolutely. I'd look for a business model that does express both sides of the business plan, the developer business side, opening storefronts, the builder, and a great customer acquisition, as well as retention model, because they have to go hand in hand today. You just don't want to be over here, and I don't want to be just over here. I want both.
So, okay, would you say like an e-commerce and a network marketing business model?
Well, I like to call it relationship marketing. And yeah, I think it has to have a strong customer value proposition. And the last thing I'll say is this, everyone talks about comp plans. Comp plans, it's just a math equation until you put people and products with it, and they all adjust. They all have to change. Typically when companies have massive growth or contraction, or they're trying to do something different, they rarely stay the same forever. Okay. But the other thing that is at this point in my life, after everything, I think I'm starting my third career, if you will. My first 30 years was about music and about expression and about breaking barriers for myself as a musician. And I felt very good about that. Then it was becoming a mother and then the introduction to this business model and really trying to build the business around my family for the most part, Of course, that got a little lopsided at times when I had my very, very, very big organizations and was traveling. But this time, culture has to be almost top of the list. It's no legal issues with the government, a proven owner, and you know what? Get on a plane and go meet the owner. Like sit eyeball to eyeball with him before you take an organization or build what you perceive to be a legacy business. Go meet the owner. Look him in the eye. What's your price? What do you mean? What's my price? What's your price? Everyone has a price. Would you sell if you got the right price? Look them in the eye and let them speak to you, and use your guidance system. Do you believe what they're saying to you? But ask about the FTC, write it down, and then culture. I mean, I want to go to a place where I can use my skills, where I feel like I can take my family there. I want to take my neighbors. We have great events because you know what? Events solidify organizations in this business model. It has for years. It's at the events where everything goes from up here to here, into your heart, into your gut, and you become business mates for years, decades. And so they have to have a great event culture, great appreciation culture. And I think that's about it. Products are important, of course. I want to be aligned with what I choose to represent and build, but those are the top three.
Okay. Building a global business. What's the best strategy? Okay.
So I learned from some of the best in this area. And I think you and I are at the same company when I did that. And, the first strategy is building your backyard. Okay. And I think that is something that I just gave away one of my secrets. I don't think that's happening right now with the space of social media and attraction marketing and, being able to scoop little people up from all over the world. I think everyone's ignoring their backyard, which is a damn shame because there's so much talent in your backyard. And if you build in your backyard, I think the analogy I heard was build the biggest bonfire in your backyard and the sparks and the embers will fly off. And you'll find people in Japan. You'll find people in Colombia. You'll find people in the Netherlands. But build the inferno in your backyard. And I saw it in action. I mean, you asked earlier, when I had international business in Modair, we had a European team, Netherlands, UK, and I did go over there with some of my team members last year for the big conference. I love international. I've been to Japan and another company to work with my team. And I got to tell you a quick story, real short story. When I went to Japan, I was on a Japan, Hong Kong, Taiwan tour. So I was doing some sit downs in Hong Kong. China was all like the buzz. And then I had some other associates to meet in Taiwan. So I started in Japan and I had a guide. So we had someone who spoke English and translated and so forth and spoke Japanese and English. And one night we got there, I just knew we were getting on a bullet train, going to an event. So I thought, we're going to a business opportunity event, or we called them real results parties. So we take this bullet train really fast. It was just such a wonderful experience. Get off the train, go down the stairs, across the street, and go upstairs into this big room. And I thought, this is interesting. What's going on? Like, you're thinking there was going to be a screen set up and chairs. It was a birthday party. Party. And I was the present for the little lady whose birthday it was. It wasn't a business event. I don't know what it was, but it was the most memorable evening. I still have a picture of me being introduced to this sweet woman she must have been 50, 60. It was her birthday. And here I am in some unknown part of Japan at a family's party. She's hugging me, and Edgardo, she was bawling her eyes out.
Wow.
I don't know what they told her or who I was, but I mean, that's the magic of when you can transcend languages and cultures and barriers and you just show up for someone. You make them feel special. That is 9/10 of this business. And I love international. That's something I hope to build again.
In how many countries have you built teams?
Well, I wouldn't say I've built all the teams. I've had large organizations in Mexico, but they came through somebody else, right? It's never, I don't think one leader always is the one that's going to find the leader, but you tap group down and someone finds the leader. Yeah. So we have large Mexico, Colombia, Japan, Netherlands, Australia, New Zealand, started India a little bit. That was during COVID, so that was a little tough. But in over 10 countries. Probably in my career. Yeah.
Okay. And how many countries have you visited?
The ones I just mentioned. Of course, I've been to Mexico,
Taiwan, Hong Kong, Mexico,
Taiwan,
Japan.
Japan. Been to Paris for the conference. Been to the UK to visit team in the UK.
Yeah.
Not enough, but now it's the wonderful irony is now I'm an empty nester. My kids are out of the house, and my business closed. So now it's the ideal time to be able to get on planes and do stuff. But anyway.
And how long did it take you to earn the first $1 million in commissions? From the beginning to 1 million?
I would have to say 9 to 10 years.
Oh, wow. That's what it took me. It took me 9 years.
About 9 to 10 years. Yeah.
Okay.
I like that story because, there's a lot of times between year 1 and year 9 to 10 that I could have quit. There was a lot of times I could have quit. But I didn't have the expectation that so many distributors have today. And it's not necessarily their fault they have the expectation. It's kind of the industry's fault. But I knew it would probably take 5 to 10 years. I was okay with that. In fact, the first year I got started, I told you I wasn't going to do a party. I wasn't going to sell my neighbors. I wasn't going to a meeting, but I wanted to see if I could make some money. And I remember my sponsor saying, well, this is going to be the year where we're going to get you up to speed and you're going to learn a little bit. Of course, you're going to make a little bit of money. But you're going to learn. I'm going to really, go with you and teach you some of the skills. But by year 2, you're going to have a popcorn business. I said, what is that? Well, first year, you're going to have some wins. I'm going to teach you and we're going to have a lot of fun with it. You're going to have a pop, 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 pop. By year 2, pop, 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 pop. We're going to plant the seeds in year 1 and we're going to start harvesting in year 2. And I said, you know what I said? Okay, that sounds fine. Because I had a mindset for mastery that I learned for 15, 20 years in music. You don't master anything in 60 days. So I was like, okay, that actually makes sense because I know nothing about this business. And I'm willing to learn this year and have fun and make a little bit of money. But I sure am going to be excited for the popcorn to start popping in year 2. I don't think we as a rule, I think we could do better at prepping people when they come on to a network marketing, relationship marketing company to have the patience for 3 to 5 to 6 years to get there. Because there are skills to learn, and you're going to get a lot of no's. You're going to get objections. You're going to get rejections. You're going to get setbacks. But those of us who push through, I think 9 to 10 years is a good number.
On my experience, Anna, there's great leaders that they never get success. They never achieve their dreams. Why? Based on your experience.
In this business model?
Yeah, in network marketing. Great leaders, great speakers. They read books. They go to seminars. They do everything what you tell them, but they do not achieve success.
I think the greatest advice I can say, because I've had lots of couch talks with myself the last 4 weeks. Number 1, if you got your heart broken in this business for one reason or the other, you're not going to have success unless you heal that. You've got to heal the cracks, because those cracks wear on you and they work back in here, and they will work on your belief system. And belief has a ring. See, I know I can build again from the ground up. I know without a doubt, because I'm focusing on the gifts of this industry. I would love nothing more in the next 10, 15, 20 years to pay a lot of the peace of mind I've experienced, the financial piece, the opportunities for my family, to pay it forward to other women. It doesn't matter if a company let me down, an owner let me down, private equity, this or that. It doesn't matter. The seeds and the fruits of this business are all intact. You've got to go back to what you believe in to be true, even though human beings could screw it up. What you believe to be true about the business model, if it's still true and you still truly believe your job is to convey this and pass the gift, you can do it again. But you got to believe in the model. You got to believe in yourself. So you got to believe in yourself. And I think that, again, I think you have to heal from past disappointments and the setbacks, and you got to give yourself some grace. One of the reasons I didn't jump in is because I needed to heal. I needed to kind of like process. I mean, this was very violent to me, and you just can't knee-jerk reaction to go to another company because it's there. That doesn't make sense. People out in, Amazon, and they don't just, they think about their career. Like, what's my next step? Does this align with me? What do I want to accomplish? How do I want to be perceived and lead people? So anyway, I also had a little bit of a more of a window of opportunity to sit back, because my husband and I have been pretty conservative. Well, in some ways, but I have time. I wasn't, I didn't need to jump in something to keep a paycheck, to keep my lights on. Right. So I just thought I until I can see crystal clarity and know that I'm aligned and I've forgiven what just happened, I can't take that into a new company. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. You're not going to overreact and regret it.
Well, yeah, because in our business, one bad move, it could be your last move.
Yeah, 100%. So it can come from April 11 to 9/11, and you don't want that. So you're taking your time to make sure that your next move is the right move, which is very smart.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell us, what's next for Anna Woodward?
You're going to end with
you already said that most of your team, they pretty much made a 24-hour decision. Okay, what was the next move for them? And what's next for you, Anna?
So as I said, I'm starting this next phase of my life, and the most important thing to me is meaning. Okay. I made a lot of money in my last 8 years. But
you want to make more?
No. Well, that's a loaded question. But I didn't have my highest life calling professionally in the last 8 years. It wasn't there for me. I wasn't maybe in the right ecosystem. I wasn't in the right model. I don't know. But it's a very hard conversation to share with somebody. They go, why didn't you leave? Well, you don't quite understand. But I need meaning at this point. I need to know that what I'm doing is really making a difference. Like, not at a transactional level, not at a commission level, at a human level, I am adding value and joy to other people's lives. And if it's in the right ecosystem, in the right company, at the right timing, with the right people, commissions and stuff will come. But I'm looking for that meaning for this next build. I actually love building. Not everybody does. I do, because I go back to that musician in me from years and years ago. I always sought out the best musicians, world-class musicians, Boston Symphony Orchestra players, London Symphony players, to pour into me. And it's just this unspoken thing. When you have been gifted, you pay it forward. That's the right universal thing, to pay it forward. So, I don't know how big it'll be. I don't know if I'll surpass what I've done in the past, but I know one thing: it's going to be meaningful. It's going to be meaningful. And, I'll just leave it at that. There's so much more to come. There is so much more to come. And I've had setbacks. I've had things I wish I could correct and redo. But at the end of the day, I've had a lot of wonderful moments that have brought me to this point with the wisdom learned, right? You learn wisdom from the good times and the bad times, the challenges and the celebrations. I want to build something very special with a really great culture. And again, I hope people think, well, what did Anna teach me? Or what do I remember about Anna? Anna reminded you that this is the people business. It's not the social
100%.
media business.
100%.
It's the biggest paycheck business for everybody necessarily. It's not fabricating incomes and claims on social media about your product or company. It's not about how good you look or how many followers you have. It's about people. And I really feel like, particularly after what we went through in 2020 for a couple of those years, there's a lot of value I can add helping people remember how to communicate, remember how to lean in, remember how to sit with someone, hold space with someone on a Zoom or at a coffee shop. Even if they don't buy your product or sign up, hold some space for them, because you know what? People are begging for people to care, people who are empathetic, and people who will show up for them. And if you can create that if I can do that in this next build, it's game over. Because I think that's what the world wants. They're tired of being sold. They're like, inspire me, Anna. Tell me this dream is still possible, because I don't want to sell every day for the rest of my life. Like, I don't mind selling, but like, wasn't there a dream attached to this? The dream is still real. I truly believe the dream is real. That's what I'm going for, Edgardo.
Well, Anna, whatever company you go is going to be very, very lucky. Okay? Because there's no doubt in my mind that you're going to go to the top. Okay? I can see it. I can see it on your eyes. You're very determined. That's why you're very, very successful, very powerful. So let me ask you this question. Okay? On the industry, what do you think is more powerful? The female or male in the industry of network marketing? I mean, the female is very powerful. I've seen very powerful females like you.
That's a great question, because I don't think we have time for that answer, because I've studied this. I mean, our industry is 94% female.
What? 94?
It's 92. It's basically low 90s. I'm sure it is. Females, at least in North America and the companies I've been in. But I retract that, because I don't actually know for the whole of network marketing space. But I know when we talk about our space in North America, it's much higher female than male. But at the same time, women also love to have both. It's like having both parents represented. You want to have, I think a company today has to have a female energy, because again, so many distributors are female. But we also love the strength and the power of a strong male leader. Sometimes it doesn't matter, but it does. But like, I think we want both. But I think where I've seen the best culture in a high female environment is when they've recognized it and they weren't scared to, for instance, I'll just say, like, I admire the Arbonne culture, the white Mercedes. I admire that for the last 40 years, they take all their top leaders to Hawaii on their celebration trips. They make it very special. There's a feminine energy there, because that's their culture, right? That may not be the same in a male-dominated company, but if you try to make a unisex culture in a company that is, very high female, I have a lot of trucker hats that I'm thinking, we need to step up some of the event stuff and some of the goodies and everything, because I have probably 20 trucker hats. How many trucker hats do you think a woman needs?
Wow.
We need some special stuff. We need some special juju, but we need both.
Okay. But you're saying the female dominates the industry pretty much.
From my experience here in the US, from the companies that I know, they are definitely heavier female than distributors and everything than the males. And if you think about the consumer out there, I'm not sure about, Latin America and so forth, but in the US, women control about 80% of the spending in the house. They do. They make the choices. My husband doesn't buy anything ever. I got to buy it all. And he just lets me. So that's a fact. Women control spending and the choices they make. So again, a company needs to have enough of a branding that it's exquisite. It speaks to the female mind and what we're looking for: quality, value, performing results. So that is a true fact, though. 80% women control 80%.
So there's a lot of people that are going to be watching this episode, and they're going to be saying, how can we connect with Anna Woodward? So tell her the best way to connect with you on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok.
Instagram.
We're gonna put it right here on the show. So tell us.
That's kind of Instagram. I think it's the Anna Woodward, and Facebook. I think it's Anna Woodward. And I'm on LinkedIn as well. But yeah, I would love conversations. I love when people call me. I had someone call me today to sit down and show me a company. I'm always doing research, and I'm always happy to give feedback too, because I get a lot of crazy calls. And I think we have a great industry. I think there's a bright future, but I think we're going through a real paradigm shift. I think we all got to be better together. And again, let's think outside the space. There's 95%. If I walked out my front door, looked all the way that way and all the way this way, none of them are in a company, I guarantee you. But we're also hyper focused on going live 20 times a week and being on 6 platforms. Pay attention to what's happening on your own street. I think maybe you could build a gold mine in your backyard if you were inclined. I'm inclined. I love the interaction. I love getting, being in the trenches, whether it's at a trade show or a restaurant. I like the lives too. I like the online stuff, but I think there's gold in our backyard. I think there's acres of diamonds actually. And people are ignoring that.
Wow. So we're going to put all the social media. So you're going to get a lot of calls, a lot of messages, and all the comments right here. You can put it right here, all the comments for Anna Woodward. And the next question is the $1 million question. Do you want to leave a legacy?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. So not, you look at a career of any size and duration in pretty much any space. And I've been in 3 companies. Okay. I still have some work to do because I'm not ready to close on the chapter that just finished. When I work with people and we work on retirement strategies and vision, I always say, describe to me your highest life value in retirement. What's the most important thing to you? Just think about what would make, when it's all said and done, and you've got minutes left, your family's gathered around, what do you want them to remember you for? Because you've got 20 years maybe ahead. Let's create it. Let's create that plan for you. And so my highest life value in this business has been working and teaching and coaching leaders. And I'm so fortunate that I was given that honor. I was given that privilege. I come from the train of thought that we should be mentors for free to our teams. That we shouldn't be charging people in our companies and teams money to coach. I don't come from that new modern school. I'm like, we're the free $1 million mentorship. If we built it and we got to this stage, again, it's the only right thing to pay it forward. So the next chapter, I hope I can use my skills. I truly believe that we've lost a little bit in the digital age. We've lost a little bit this transference of just learning how to introduce yourself to somebody, to give them a compliment, right? To sit down at a coffee shop and have enough peace about you that you can just have a normal conversation with somebody and find out what they're looking for. Like, are you and your family looking for more income, or clean products, whatever your thing is that important to you? Tell me more about that. Like, we've got to teach people how to communicate again as just good human beings. Because you know what? Anyone who's ever going to join your team or buy your product, they're buying you first. They're buying 100%. Us first.
Yes.
We lost a lot of our confidence and our grounding in just how to communicate because we've moved to Messenger, we've moved to chat, we've moved to these crazy personalities sometimes you see on social media. Just sit down with someone at a restaurant and be real. Talk about what's important in life. What did you do for the weekend? Oh my gosh, are you excited for your kids to be home in the summer? Tell me more about that. Just lean in. I mean, just little things like Rita used to always say, and I know this came from somebody, but everybody's walking around with a little sign on their forehead, a little invisible sign that says, make me feel special. If you can do that, you're already 9/10 of the way there to have a fan, someone who's going to come to your event, someone who's going to refer someone else to you, someone who may walk into your business, but they first got to feel like you see them. You really care. You really care. They're not a transaction. They're a human. And if we dance and we get on the same bridge and my value system and what I can offer you matches what you're looking for, and we feel that, they're in your business, and you walk a really privileged line with them as a leader. So that's important to me. And I think that's there's a song that I love. I'm not going to sing it because I can't sing, but it comes from the musical Wicked, and it's called For Good. And it's basically this idea that I hope in the season that we've been together, I've left something that made your life better. Even if someone comes into your life for 2 weeks and we had a call together or sat at a conference and, I was able to, give some encouraging words. I hope that I left something of value, because people do come into your life for sometimes a reason, sometimes a season, but very few come for a lifetime. But in those moments, that's all we've got. And so that's what I want to be remembered for. I love the digital. I love the social. I love the branding. I love the attraction. I love this interaction. But at the end of the day, we got to bring the people business back, and we got to develop people to become really good messengers.
Wow. Anna, it's been an honor once again having you here in my show. And I know people is going to love your story and the experience too. Okay. Because a lot of people, they only see the good thing, but they don't see, like what you're saying. You're like, I'm ready to start all over again, one by one.
Yeah.
Teach them one by one, A, B, C. Okay. So, wow. I have so much respect for that, because what you just told us right here on my show, it's amazing. So I want to thank you for taking this opportunity, okay, sharing this with our community. And anything else that you want to share before we...
No, I just want to applaud you, Edgardo, for what you're doing. I think this is an incredible platform. I hope you get tons of viewers. Didn't look too many of the interviews. I didn't want to get nervous about mine, but I think you're doing a huge service, because, you're letting people be really authentic and open and raw and transparent. And I think we have to. It's hard. It's a hard build. It's a hard build to get to 50,000 a year, 100,000 a year, 200,000 a year, $1 million a year. It's a very, you need time, but you also need to understand that there's people who've done it. And we're willing to pour ourselves into you to show what we did. And so the value I hope I can add is I'm going to do it along with my next team. I'm like, well, I'm starting at ground zero too. So let's just be okay with that and do it. Let's just do it. So, this has been a real honor for me. And you've given me a lot of hope today too. So thank you very much.
And we got to do this again. Okay. So
I would love it.
Yeah. We're going to do it again. And it's going to be like, down the road. So we're going to do it again. Thank you one more time. And man, I love your story. Okay. Thank you for being on our show. Thank you, Anna.
God bless. Thank you, Edgardo. Thank you.
Okay. Comment right here. Don't forget, and subscribe and give us a like. Bye-bye.